Hey guys, this is Max Scarf. I'm here with another video. This time it's about reflex configuration. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is, last time I was showing off all my services working together, and in that I was talking about a tool to let me configure the reflexes to have interests and plans, and then have senses which could be mapped to those interests and plans for actions. If that doesn't make sense, watch episode 10, I think it is, 9 or 10. One of them I explain my whole interests, plans, reflexes, all that kind of stuff. I can't exactly remember which video it was, but that's fine. It's all coming together, like, it really is. I've got my little tool now, and I've also made a little test app where I can send the different data types to the AI and receive different data types from the AI. You'll see what I mean by that as well once I get into this little demo I'm going to do. So yeah, let's hop into it. So here's my kind of behind the scenes look. This is my SeaCAT solution. This is the one where I have everything. So I've got the cycler, I've got the executioner, I've got the reflex, and I've got the wisdom. Those are the four that we need to actually have the AI running. And then I've got these other two. You can ignore the common ones and the API one. They are what they are. They're not relevant for this video. That's what they are. So I've got this reflex configuration tool, which you can use to create senses, you can use it to create interests, you can use it to create plans, you can use it to create reflexes. It's a very confusing tool, but I will load that up just now actually and show you what it's all about. I've cleaned out my database. I might show some database stuff, it depends if I forget to or not. So here you have my reflex configuration tool. As you can see, it's an absolute mess. I wouldn't expect anyone to understand this except me. But basically, on the left here, we can create a sense. I would tidy this up, but I'm the only one using it, and I know what it all does, so, you know, deal with it, y'all. So here, we're going to go with the lightbulb test, right? We don't have the AI for it yet, but I can configure it to the point where we have the inputs and the outputs. Now we just need to put the reasoning of the AI in place of us using this tool to configure reflexes. Eventually, we will be able to use it to configure reflexes if we want to. If you want like standard actions that your AI just knows to do by default. But really, we'll just be using it for creating senses. Because it's not bad for creating senses. So, the name of our first sense, lightbulb test, is going to be switch. Right, and the description for that is just going to be, this is a switch, right? Currently, I only support booleans and strings. That's no big deal. I can add the rest. I'm just being very lazy. For now, we'll go with a boolean because it's a switch, and it's going to be read. So this is a bit of a confusing one. I've got read, write, read, write. I showed those off in my enum way back in the day. This is actually from the AI's perspective, not from our perspective, so it's a little confusing. So it's a read one because the AI can read it. It can't write to it. It can't flick the switch. So we've created this switch. Brilliant. Here we go. Sense name switch. This is a switch, and here is our switch, right? So what we can do is we can create an interest, and the interest could be called switch on. Right, we've now got a switch on interest, but it's got no actions. So an interest is made up of actions. We know this from my previous videos. So we can turn the switch on, and we can add that to the interest. Right, I don't have anything here for actually seeing what these are. I need to add another one of these displays over here, but I really can't be bothered because I don't need it currently. I'll add it if I'm ever bored. For now, I don't really care. I'm just using it for basic shit. So now the interest that we created, switch on, has got a switch, and it is the switch being on. We know that because that's what we just configured, right? We can then add a new plan, which is, well, first we need to add a new sense. This one can be the bulb. This is a bulb. And again, it's a Boolean. This time it's right, so the AI can write to it. We can't. So we add that. Now we have our bulb. So we want to create a plan, and this is going to be called bulb on. Alright, so the plan is turn the bulb on. So we need to get the bulb, set it to be on, and we want to add that to a plan, not to the interest. Right, so now we have bulb on, and that is going to turn the bulb on. But these two aren't actually tied together yet. That's why we need a reflex. So if I come in here, I can say, what should we call the reflex? Switch bulb on, right? That's basically what it's doing. So now we have a reflex. It doesn't have any interests or plans. So because we've got these selected, we can add the interest. So the reflex is now, whenever the interest is fulfilled, it will switch the bulb on. So when the switch is on, the bulb will go on. Nice and simple, right? That's us got a reflex set up. We can create another one, switch off. And for switch off, we want it to have the switch being off. So we can add that to the interest. And then we want, what, bulb off? Bulb off, so we can add that. And on bulb off, we want the bulb to be off, right? So we'll add that to the plan again. And then we need a new reflex, which we'll just call switch bulb off. Add reflex there. And we want to add switch off and bulb off. There we go. So that's us done with this tool, right? We've created our light switch logic now. Eventually we'll want the AI to be populating all this stuff itself, not us doing it. For now, it's us doing it. That's no big deal. It's all part of the plan. So we now have a reflex configured. So we don't need that application anymore. So if I go to my database, I'll just show you what that has created in my database. We have two reflexes, switch bulb on, switch bulb off. We have two plans, bulb on, bulb off. I know this isn't very interesting. We have two interests, switch on and off. And then we have four actions. Two for each sense. So one of these will be the switch, one of them will be the bulb. And then here's the data values, which are true and false in Boolean. So again, one of these will be true, one of these will be false. If we go into data, we can see that. You see here, the two different packets are false and true. So that's fine. And the senses that we have are switch and bulb. So we could go and map those out and see that same logic that we saw in that table, in that application here in this database, but it would be a massive pain in the ass. We could also do all that configuration here by writing SQL queries, but again, that would be a massive pain in the ass, which is why I put that little tool together. So the other tool we have, which I'll show you now, is debug start. This is called the sense inputter. It's not really an accurate name for it anymore. So here you can choose input and output senses. So we only have one input and one output currently. They are the switch and the bulb, right? So we could send an action. We could do that like this. And then if we look in the database, we should have, well, it's going to be the same action we already sent. We're going to have a memory, that's what it'll be. One memory that is tied to that action on this cycle. And this cycle should be cycle 0, because we haven't started the cycler yet. So that's what, 4FED. So if I go in here, 4FED is, okay, cycle 1. I start it at 1. That's fine. And that was, the cycle started when I started the application, I think. So, that's the database basically done with for now. There's not going to be anything else of interest going in there. However, what we can do with this is, and this is where it gets really cool. So because we've got our reflexes set up, if I start the cycler, and I start the executioner, and I start the reflex service, and I start the wisdom service, and then I come back to this, then we can send the switch being on. And it will bubble through. And then the switch will turn on. The bulb will turn on. And then we can send the switch being off. And it will bubble through. And the switch will go off. Now I know that's not very amazing. However, let me just try something. I haven't actually tried this myself, so it might not work, but we'll give it a shot. Let's add a new sense. A new sense called command. This is a command, and it's going to be a string, and it's going to be a read. So we've created command now. So in command we can just put a string, right? So let's create a new interest called command on. And command on has a command where we say light me up, and we add that to the interest, and it crashes. You see, this is why it's not a good idea to do that shit. I wonder why that happened. You're seeing some of my terrible rushed code here because I don't really care about this configuration tool. It's a temporary thing. Selected index is 0. That makes sense. It's trying to set it to 2. But there is... How many are there? 1. So what's happened there? It has loaded the interest, which had 0. I see. That's what I did wrong. So, I know what I did wrong here. I need to do like selected interest index, and then I need to do selected interest action index. Do I? Nah. I just need to make sure this is actually doing it on list interests. Let's try that. Might not work, but this is my cowboy gung-ho way of programming. Oh, We'll see what happens. We may end up with a good demo, yeah. So, command on. So it has the command, so it did it, but then it broke. Okay, fair enough. Brilliant, I can live with that. We also want, let's see if I fixed it. What should we type to turn it off? Be off with ye, right? And here we will create a plan called command off. Well, something crashed. I wonder what it was. Let's have a look. Let's have a look-see. It was the executioner. Why did he crash? Why was he starting a plan? Why was he starting a plan? Because the plan had its current cycle set to 0. Because I created it and I didn't set it to -1. Ah, that's frustrating. But it's also perfectly acceptable, right? We know why it happened. I'll just make a mental note to fix that one in the future. So, before we start the executioner again then, let's finish creating these. So, be off with ye is being added to command off. Let's see if this crashes it. I know there's a lot of crashes happening. Honestly, I have been a bit lax. But it's just so exciting building new stuff, you know? So, be off with ye. That is command off. Only thing is, I can't actually remember what command on was. I should have gone with like, it was like... What the hell did I put? This is why that extra window would be really useful. You know what? We're gonna do the sucky thing, and we're gonna make one called command on 2. This is how bad it's got. Okay, command on 2. Be off with you. Right, I'm gonna make a notepad note of these just in case. I was trying to be clever. Be off with ye equals bulb off, and probably let there be light if I know myself. But it may very well not have been. However, that's irrelevant now. So now we can add a new reflex called command bulb on. I know this isn't very efficient, this is just a test initial thing. And command bulb on, let there be light. Let's add that to the interest. Right, command on, bulb on. Let's add those two. And then we want a new one, which is command bulb off. And he wants you know, it would have really helped if I hadn't made command off be a read, or a write even instead of a read. Right, we're going to make command off 2. We're going to do it. Command off should have been an interest, that's what it is. Command off to add interest. So I've messed up a bit here, but it's fine. Be off with ye. Add to interest. Okay. Command bulb on is command on to and bulb on. Command bulb off is command off to and bulb off. Now we could add multiple conditions here so that both had to arrive within, I think they both have to be in the short-term memory for it to trigger. But for now, we've created that, so let's see if this has worked. So if I start this, I haven't actually tested this yet, so you're getting a sneak preview. If we go to command and we type, well, I need to run the executioner first. Don't crash. So if I type, let there be light, the light comes on, and then we say, what? Be off with ye. And the light goes off. I know that's not amazing, but it does make for a neat little app, I think. I really think it's something. So this is basically what we'll be using for the light bulb test. We'll just have a punish and reward button as well. However, or punish and reward sense even. However, for now, it's just proof that my services for handling reflexes work, right? So these are reflex actions. They take a while to come through. That's just because I'm running it at like 1 frame a second or whatever currently. I could up it easily, but it's quite nice for debugging having it that slow. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I really wanted to show. I think it's pretty cool, honestly. I would be interested to see what other people think, if anyone actually watches this. If not, it's cool anyway. I need to add to this the ability to give it scores, so that it prioritizes higher score reflexes first. But for now, I'm not going to bother. So, I mean, that's it for this video. I think it's pretty good, but I'm not sure what I'll be doing next. I think next I need to work on assigning meanings to things so that I can create reflexes with like customizable parameters almost. Or I was going to add in like the concept of transferring data from an interest to a plan. If it was like a special type of interest that was like a transfer interest or something. But I think that will come down to meanings. I think that's what meanings will do, because you'll be able to have the same meaning in both the interest and the plan. And then it will be able to find something it can associate the meaning with on both levels. But that might not make any sense to you guys. I'm going to leave this off for now. And yeah, talk to you guys next time.